I'm Darren Bott, interior designer and aviation fanatic.
And I'm Sweeney Gray, journalist, and this is the Interior Podcast.
Emphasis on tea, as we spill the tea on all things design, home and construction.
Locally, regionally, and even internationally. So join us as we spill the tea.
Well, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Interior Podcast. I'm Darren Bott.
I'm Sweeney Gray.
And today, it is very interesting because we are talking about DIY. Do it yourself. Everything, we can do it ourselves.
Can we?
Many things.
Can we? Because you could do stuff yourself. I am one of those people who has friends who can do things themselves.
Hey, I don't want to do things myself.
So those friends can do those things for her. so I don't know. I like the idea of DIY, and I rate those people very highly. But that's not my gift. That's not my gift.
I hurt my finger putting, those hooks with the nails. Yeah, I damage myself. I damage myself with a box cutter. I damage myself. Yeah,
all of that is part of the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that doesn't. No. Okay, so you're listening to Ariel Superville, who is here with her husband, Keron Superville. And no, Ariel, getting cut with a box cutter is not part of my journey.
It is, it adds
What
to
do
the
you
experience.
mean?
I have my stories. I burned 4 of my fingerprints using a glue gun.
I can show you at least 10 scars on my hands, all from the last year.
Last year?
Yeah, it's all part of the journey.
I mean, I can show you that too, but this is just from everyday walking from my bedroom to the kitchen.
See, accidents happen. Are you going to stop walking?
That is the weakest excuse, Ariel.
Injuring
Still do
yourself
it.
is part of doing it yourself.
No, I rebuke that in Jesus' name.
Correct. I mean, before we start, I just want to know how your week is going. I know the place is hot. I know we were going to work. Y'all okay, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you just came back from vacation. So the question is, who took your photos?
I took my own photos.
All right.
We're not ready to spell that.
Nah, we are not ready to spell that.
But we're talking about spilling tea. What are you drinking, Keron?
Sparkling water today.
Very lame.
I've had
Judging
3
you.
cups of coffee for the day already.
Again, judging.
Judging.
And I am the designated driver.
Yes.
I have to go pick up my son.
Fine, that was mature, so we can't judge that. We don't drink and drive, we forbid it. Ariel, what are you drinking? What's your tea?
I am having pineapple juice and Malibu.
I happily approve.
I love that.
And Darren, what are we drinking?
We are drinking fruit and veg with some Malibu.
So you're getting all of these essentials?
Getting all of the essentials. We're getting the pick me up from all of the fruits and the veg, and we're getting the extra boost of confidence from the Malibu.
Exactly. Supporting Caribbean drinks, right?
Correct. So we have home with Ariel, making sure it's Ariel, correct?
Yes, correct.
Perfect. So you all will have seen her on Instagram. We will put her handle in our show notes, and we're gonna make sure you all follow her, please, and
Definitely.
call her, bombard her. And we're ready to spill some tea here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So Ariel, let's begin with, how did you get into DIY? Who are you, and how did this become your passion? Especially since you burnt off your fingerprints with glue guns and you still went back, and you cut yourself with box cutters and you still went back. So what is it about DIY that keeps calling you?
Well, to be honest, this is a new venture for me. I am very much like you. I am not into the DIY. I don't consider myself creative or anything like that. But to be honest, we purchased our first home in 2019, and living in the space and seeing how we could have improved the space and utilizing Keron's skills, I think that experience kind of encouraged me to, say, hey, I can do this, I can make this, I can create this, like home accessories. And now being more involved in the DIY, when I look back, I am kind of like, maybe I had a little interest previously because I'm eyeing the wine corks there because I have a massive wine cork collection.
I saw you did something.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
back on your Instagram and I saw you did a Christmas wreath with wine corks.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's easy to collect. Oh my,
Exactly.
Darren has. And so I don't know if y'all may not get to see this, or you may if you're lucky. But Darren has an amazing wine cork collection. And it's the easiest thing to collect.
Exactly.
And you can do, I saw someone do a bath mat
Yeah,
with
you
wine
can do
corks.
a lot of things, and and that wine cork wreath I made, that was like many years ago. I made a couple other items as well,
Yes.
but at that time I never really looked at it as being a DIYer or being creative or being so passionate about it.
Yeah.
I had a lot of wine corks. I said, let me try to make something, and I think sometime we came up with a plan on how I can maybe make big art pieces and try to sell them, and here we are now, how much years after.
I like this. I'm actually looking at the wreath now.
Yeah, and I made an A that I used to have stuck on my bedroom wall. That's when I was living with my parents. I made some art pieces for my sister's apartment.
Did you do art in school?
I did not. So as I said, I never considered myself
Okay, you
an
are pretty
artist.
awesome.
Creative.
She sells herself short because she actually has the eye for design. So I guess it's a match made in heaven, because we were able to pair her eye for design and my experience building stuff to actually come up with solutions for our home.
Because on her Instagram, she describes your woodwork, because Keron does a lot of woodworking and has done a lot of woodworking projects in their house. Amazing, like that cupboard, the sliding, cupboard that I saw. Is very stellar. So let's talk about you. How did you get into woodwork? Because that's not your that's your hobby, not your bread and butter.
That was something that was necessary when I moved out on my own into my first apartment. I didn't have enough money to furnish the entire thing, so I decided to upcycle, looked at some options, decided on pallets and using pallets. My first ever project was a TV stand / bottle holder, because I'm a bachelor.
Yes.
I needed to have some drinks, and I needed to have a place to put my TV. So that was the first thing I built. That was out of some scrap wood and pallets, and
I really like pallets as well.
Yeah,
I like pallets. I did. One of my friends, we did their home. One of the first homes that I actually built from design up. They built a king size bed out of pallets.
Yeah.
And it was a truly interesting experience because, a lot of people were like, wait, we can do this?
With pallets.
And a lot of people were like, is that going to hold up? But it did.
Yeah.
Everything worked. So when people talk about pallets, and I'm like, listen, if you can find pallets, do it. Do anything you can possibly do with pallets.
Yeah, it's a really accessible way to get into woodwork if that's something that you're interested in. But it's been my hobby for 8 years now.
Oh wow.
And it's been more of a stress reliever type of solution.
But that's definitely one of the things that I want to talk about, like DIY and mental health. Like, what does that do? Like, what is that correlation like? Because a lot of us are tightly wound up.
Yep.
Day in, day out, it happens, right? So like, how does this help us relax? Like, what do you think is that correlation? Like, you've been doing this as a hobby for 8 years, and now you are the muscle behind this.
DIY with
So, like, I'm watching this door that is done here. Did you do the door? Was that a door that was made? Was that, like, tell us about this door.
It's a black door.
Wait, hold on.
Well, there's actually a video. I have a video posted with the process. It's a regular.
It's a regular
door. Yeah.
And what did you do?
Well, she told me what her vision was. We debated the vision because we tend to do that a lot. Debate what the finished product should look like, and this is what we came up with. So it was up to me to execute on it.
Yeah, and not just what the finished product would look like, but the best way to achieve that. So the idea I took to him was, we can do this door. This is how we can do it, and he was like, there's an easier way to do it to give you the same look, and I was like, okay, go for it.
Yeah.
So that's usually how we plan things. Like, he kind of looks at it and come up with a more realistic.
She wants to go the route
way.
of cutting strips.
Yeah. The slabs and then.
So you see, that's what I will think of doing. And I'm literally.
I really like this door.
Yeah, yeah, I'm speechless.
I
'cause
don't
we
just
have
like
to
the
show
color
you.
and the fact that it's black.
It's
And
black or it's
funny
a
'cause-
charcoal?
It's black.
It's black.
Yeah, and I mean, we just had that
We
conversation.
had a conversation about that.
black paint. So I've been looking at black paint in an entirely new way. But everything about that though is very modern. But also, you alluded to the fact that you got into woodwork because you were interested. You didn't have a lot of money, but also you're interested in sustainability, and that's also one of the underlying passion projects of our entire season: sustainability and reusing, and in a
Oh.
being very conscious
Yeah.
about what you're doing with your
Yeah.
home
Yeah.
and not creating additional waste. In fact, taking potential waste or delaying waste from getting into
Correct.
the system.
Because that's
So,
definitely one of my go-to mantras.
yeah.
Let's find. I want to have sustainable design. So I try every aspect of trying to be as sustainable as possible, trying to be as green as possible. A lot of times, a lot of material is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Nor is it green.
Yeah.
It's probably yellow, blue, or orange. We try.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that that's one of your go-to, that is something that is at the back, at the front, at the side. You know, like you want to be sustainable. You're going to do it. You're going to recycle. You're going to upcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I started. I started upcycling pallets into different things. I made a dining room table, a cocktail size dining room table from pallets.
A cocktail size dining
Well, cocktail
room
height.
dining
Yeah.
room table.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't have space
Yeah.
for a full dining table.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, just for the two of us, we could have a space with a glass top. That was another project that we did as well.
So you see, a lot of things are done and built and designed out of necessity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of us don't realize that this is what happens. And when it's done out of necessity,
Yeah.
it's like pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It turns out to be pretty awesome because, I mean, you can guess from my tone here, I'm very excited about this door that I keep going back to.
I know. No, the
Because
door is
the door
worth the
is-
excitement.
The
door is
door
actually
is spectacular.
fantastic. Yeah.
And
yeah.
we hope when you check it out that you give Keron a call and you let him know how great this door is and what you want him to do for you. Because, I mean,
Nothing
there-
about it looks homemade.
No.
It's very professionally
Correct.
done.
And
The
it looks
etching
excellent.
is I don't know how you did the
is this
the
at your
lines,
home or
but-
was it somewhere else?
No,
This
that's
is our home.
that's
This is
our
our
house.
bedroom.
Beautiful.
This is
Yeah.
our
I
master
love-
bedroom.
I love
Yeah.
Bedroom,
Yeah, so-
door,
And it's
bathroom.
two doors.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were made to essentially face
Yes.
each other.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And you see,
So
one
it's
of the things that
consistent.
I'm thinking about, like just talking and just while I was thinking about this particular topic, like there are spaces in this world and this design space for interior designers, for interior decorators, for DIY, and we all can survive within this ecosystem and glean off of each other and join forces and do all of these different things. Because one of the major issues that we have is competition.
Yeah.
No, why are you doing this or why are you doing that? So a lot of people find it very strange that I'm speaking to DIYers
Yeah.
or other interior designers or other people like, that's your competition.
Yeah.
I had to calmly tell some people, I have no competition. I'm in competition with myself.
With myself.
Yeah.
We are
Exactly.
growing together
Exactly.
and building this ecosystem.
Yeah, I've had people, ask me with a few projects, can you build so and so for me? I said, sorry, not really doing projects right now.
Yeah.
But I could recommend another
Right,
way
correct.
Yeah.
because they're local people who I know who are really excellent about it.
Correct.
They do it full time. I would think twice about recommending another
Correct.
woodworker to do a project.
Yeah,
So-
even with design, just to jump, even with design, like when I first started this page, I think my caption was, I am not an interior designer or an interior decorator. This is me and this is us just trying to make the most of our living space.
Yeah.
So most of the content on my page is within our home.
Right.
Because it's not like I go out and give advice to persons to, do design, but I might say, hey, I'm following this local interior designer. If you're really serious about having your space looked at by a professional, maybe you can check out that person. So, as you said, I don't think it's a competition, but more of a collaboration and learning from
Yes.
each other and,
Yeah.
supporting.
That's how we learn. That's how I learned.
Yes,
actually,
definitely.
because
Working
I
with other
learned
people.
woodwork essentially from YouTube. I had an
Or the
idea.
University of YouTube.
And this was in this would have been 2012, 2013 thereabouts. I had an idea for what I wanted to do. I had no idea where to start. So I went to YouTube, found a few woodworkers, people who were DIYing stuff, people who were on the high end. And all the woodworking community, the maker community on YouTube is very collaborative.
Yes.
So they're always recommending, well, I did it this way, but maybe you can check out this
Yeah.
page. And I've been following the same probably 25 woodworkers on YouTube for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I hardly ever miss a project from them because it's such a network of, hey, this is how I did this. There are other ways of doing it. You should check out this one. You should check out that guy. This person is only on Instagram, but still check them out.
Yeah.
And I found myself solving problems totally different ways by following different people and learning from them, how they solve it.
But that's the online community. Is there a woodworking community here in Trinidad, and how?
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Oh dear.
No, I mean,
we're being honest here. We're being
I'm sure there is.
Yes.
It doesn't appear to be a space for DIYers like myself.
Right.
But if I go to the lumberyard on a Saturday morning, you will see people collaborating. You will see people who know each other. They're all in the same space, and they will talk to each other. Or they will collaborate to an extent. But I unfortunately don't have much experience with them one-on-one.
Right.
My time is limited. Ariel will tell you she will fall asleep at like 10, and I probably will fall asleep until 11, 12.
Right.
During that time, I might catch up on a project, have some quiet time to think about something that I need to come up with a solution for, and probably design that solution in that time. Because I just don't have the time during the day to do it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's just how I approach things. But I'm sure there is a community locally, and I'd definitely love to get into that community at some point.
Yeah, I need us to literally just understand the idea of collaborating
Yeah.
and building an ecosystem, because Trinidad and Tobago is here small, and we can't keep ourselves in that box, or as we like to call it, on this rock. So because a lot of us travel, a lot of us see things outside, we understand what is there, and a lot of those things happen because of collaboration, and it's just perfect to me.
So I feel like we answered this question already, but just for clarity, Ariel, what do you consider your first major DIY project? And I guess it's limited to in your home, because we know, you could take the easy way out and say, well, my home.
Well,
I'd rather you not.
no, but as I said, I only became passionate about it when we moved into my home. Everything I did prior to that,
Just a hobby.
it was just a hobby you do it on your
Yes.
free time,
Yeah.
nothing serious. My first major DIY would probably be a very nice wine cork wreath I did make for my mom.
Yeah.
Maybe more than 6 years ago, and it's still going strong, still surviving. She hangs it up every year, so maybe
Nice.
that. But as I said,
I feel like I need to do
2019?
something with these wine corks. And
no,
just
listen.
send
I
it
am
back to
happy.
Ariel.
I
and
know
like,
what to say. That is
something.
what.
Yeah,
That is
and-
what I plan to do,
And a lot
because
of
I
people
not
would
take any
message
trainer.
me. Yeah, a lot of people would message me asking, "Oh, can you make this? Can you make the letter of my name? Can you make
Yes.
that?" And
I
I was like,
am
"No."
thinking, because I mean, the most decorations we have here for Christmas, the first year I moved in, we had one of those bowls. We hung it on the door. Last year, I put a Christmas tree because my family was coming over.
Yeah.
So I think this year,
Yeah,
we will
do
find something to do
something
with,
with it,
those.
yeah.
You know, I'm coming to you. I am coming to
You'll be
you.
too happy.
Yeah.
Just as long as it comes with a full bottle of wine. That's fine.
Oh,
Okay, so
yes.
that's so easy.
That's
to
how the
match.
collection
Fine.
grows, you know.
That's fine.
I know. I love when I come into a space and I see wine corks. I was like, my people.
This
Yeah.
actually started from my cousin Danielle. So I
Yes.
mean, it started with her. I never forget coming through TSA, and they pulled my bag aside because they're like, "What is this?" So when they looked at it, they were like, "Oh, it's just corks. Okay,
Yeah.
cool, go on." And then we just started. So I had them in vases at home, and then when I moved, I started to find, and of course we added to the collection.
Exactly.
Added to the collection.
Yeah, exactly.
And then what we tend to do is on special occasions we would mark the cork with the occasion and
Yeah.
date.
That's very nice.
That's nice.
So certain things to celebrate, and
Yeah.
whatever bottle of champagne or wine, we just put that.
Yeah.
So just to celebrate.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing about DIY that I love. So if you are to make something with the wine corks, it's meaningful to you because,
That's
as you
correct.
said, you mark the corks with special occasions or whatever. So to have that in your home, looking nice, adding to your decor and your aesthetic of your house, it's very meaningful. So that's something I
And there's a
definitely
story
love
behind it.
about.
It's
Yeah, there's a
it's-
story. It's interesting.
It in itself is a conversation starter.
That is
Yes.
correct.
People
Yeah.
that show.
That is correct. So I mean, as we talk about that, like, so especially for me now asking this question, where do you draw the line on what is DIY and when do you say, listen, y'all, you need to either call interior designer, you need to call a contractor. I am not doing this.
Yeah.
Where do you draw this line?
Yeah. So I think for me, I would look at the time it would take to do a project because we have a 2-year-old.
Okay.
And most of the time when we have a big project and Karen is busy woodworking away, someone has to look at the 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And it is not easy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, what's the timeline? You sure that's realistic? So if I feel like if this is, too big for us to handle when we consider the time it's going to take and all of that, I am like, I would prefer if we call a contractor to maybe come and do it. So definitely time is a huge factor for me.
All right.
That forces me to, come up with creative ways because there are projects that I want to do.
Right.
I don't want to not do it.
Right.
Yeah.
My last resort would be to hand it off to someone else to do it
Mhm.
because,
Yeah.
it excites
You wanna
me to
yeah.
do something. Right? So I try to come up with creative ways to get it done in a weekend or break it up into phases to say, I could do it a couple hours this Saturday, a couple hours next Saturday, and we get it done. Something like that. If it's something that either I can't reverse or could potentially cause severe harm, I'll stay away from it.
All right.
So, electrical work at home, people might want to change your light socket. That's something I would happily take on.
Right.
But if I need to fiddle with the electrical panel in any sort of way, I'll call an electrician.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, so it's, I guess, just understanding the consequences of taking certain steps and knowing where you draw that line. And so, for example, we had to install a new circuit for a water pump when we moved in.
Right.
I left that to a contractor to do.
Right.
Ariel mentioned time. We had some guys there doing some work at the house before we moved in, and there was some plumbing that needed to get done. I gave that to those guys to do because even though I could get my hands dirty with plumbing, there was a line that I had to draw, which is that I didn't have the time. I don't want to mess this up because it could cause severe damage, so I'll just leave that to the professional.
Yeah.
If it's something I could easily undo if I get it wrong, sure, I'll try it.
Okay.
I like that.
So, of course, jumping off from that, what are the pros and cons regarding DIY? Like, what do you really, really like about it? But then, of course, what do you don't like about it?
I think we touched on one of the pros previously when we spoke about mental health.
Yes.
So it's a great outlet to relieve some stress.
Right.
Life is busy, life is hectic, and tinkering away at different little things, it really is a good stress reliever. So that's definitely a pro of doing DIY. Another pro is that if you have a project and you think you have the skills to be able to execute that project, if it doesn't come out the way you want, you can just scrap it and do it over. Or scrap it and say, okay, I tried.
Yeah.
I didn't succeed, but at least I tried. Let's call in the professionals. So you have the opportunity to try and get things the way you want it. And if not, as I said, you can always scrap it, come again, scrap it, contract it out to somebody else. But to me, that's another pro, trying to get something exactly the way you want it.
Tell us about the cons. Like, what is a con? Like if you, like, I know what my cons are. Yeah, I don't like to get hurt.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like the feeling when I'm drilling a hole. I would help hold up the paper
Vibrate your soul.
and scoop away all of the mess. Like
You like
I
to make
can't.
a mess
I don't like manual labor. Let me put it like that. That is my con of DIY.
Yeah.
For me, it's more accessibility.
Right.
I mean, the local space is not one where a homeowner could walk in off the street and not be sure exactly what material they want to use, so
Yeah.
they want to go and explore. That's not the space. When
Yeah.
you go to hardware, you need to know exactly what you're
you
going
want.
for, what is available, the tools that you may want. As a woodworker, you have to be prepared to spend money on tools.
Yeah.
But DIY level tools and professional level tools are not the
It's
same.
not the same.
They're not created equally. Some tools are created for light duty, light work. You might get the job done, but you're not doing that job every day, every week. You might do it once a month, or so you might just have a weekend project to do. But in the local market, DIY level tools are not necessarily available. DIY level or material is not necessarily available either.
So when you mention DIY level tools or DIY material, etc., what is that? Like, what is a DIY tool?
Well, so how do I put this? So tool brands are important,
Right?
So as a woodworker, you might need, and a lot of people are using cordless tools these days because it's a lot more convenient.
It's going to be different.
Right? But when you buy into a cordless tool brand, you essentially have to buy all of the tools within that brand for it to make sense. Right? So if I'm using Makita tools, for example, and I'm on the Makita battery platform, all of my tools, the majority of my tools are going to be Makita cordless tools because I can swap between batteries, and batteries is where you spend a lot of money in cordless tools, right? So you need to know what you're looking for. But Makita is not geared towards the DIY. Makita is geared towards the professional who's doing this, who needs a rugged, reliable tool to get the job done. Whereas a brand like Ryobi, for example, in the US, is geared towards the DIY or the weekend warrior, as we call it. Yeah, so that's one of the things that you would look for.
Right.
In terms of material, someone who's just doing a quick project at home, if I use plywood as an example, may not need a full sheet of plywood. It may just need half a sheet, quarter sheet. Places that are geared towards DIY will have half a sheet and quarter sheet panels.
Right. Yes. We
You
don't.
have to buy the whole
You have to
thing.
buy the whole sheet.
And pay $150 for someone to transport a full sheet of plywood.
Yeah.
Unless you have a pickup
Or more.
or more. Yeah, so it's not as accessible as it can be to encourage people to do things on their own.
Yeah. Just one more con before we move on, the safety of it.
Yeah.
You know, as I mentioned, I can't get over the fact that I burned 4 of my fingers with a glue gun. I was over it at that point, and Keron had to take over. And then we had a next project where Keron, finger slip and he lost a piece of his finger. So there's definitely a safety aspect in it. If you are handling tools, I think you need to
Watching everybody hands now.
Listen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
For
you
sure,
can't
watching
deny
everybody
that
hands.
there is a safety aspect that you need to be aware of, and if you're getting involved with the tools and all of that, ensure that you take all precautions and you know what you're doing.
Before you use any tool,
Indeed, even a glue gun.
just know what could go wrong and how to avoid the things that could go wrong.
Cons.
Yeah.
Treating yourself.
Yep.
I think we're riding up the dog, but it's alright. I don't like damaging myself. I don't like the aspect of breathing myself or losing a finger. But I guess, as Ariel said, it's all in the trade. It's all in that journey. I have not gotten to that part of the journey yet. I like watching what is done because at the end of the day, I can definitely do most of what my contractors do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been watching it this is my 10th year.
Yeah.
Do I like it? No, I don't. But I can do it
Yeah.
if I need to assist or any of those different things. But I give props to y'all because, hey, I saw what you did with the sink and the toilet, and you added your shelving and all those different things. And I'm like, I like these things. And this is what I like to encourage
The
with
adventures with the
clients
mirror.
as well.
I was tracking that. That was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, so and then I see you love to be a local Marie Kondo
Organizing.
organizing.
Yeah, I hate clutter.
She does.
Y'all, if you need a organization, you have somebody right here.
Exactly. So, what is the DIY marketplace like? So, both of you work and you all do DIY, on the side as your hobby. But you have this Instagram page and people keep approaching you to do stuff. So, what's the potential for you to be able to either have a successful side hustle or possibly even full-time based on the interest in DIY, just from your perspective?
Yeah. Well, since creating this page, the intention was never to really monetize, but I guess to an extent. Because prior to the page, we would have persons reaching out to Keron asking for him to build certain things, and that just intensified since starting this page. So in terms of
It will get
the
worse
market
now.
for that, listen, yeah, if Keron had the time, I told him I need to start charging a fee to generate the clients. But if he had the time, there is definitely a huge market of people who are interested in having custom furniture built, custom things built for their apartments, and a lot of persons have apartments.
Yes.
So it's apartment friendly things people are looking for.
Because you
at
want
good
great
quality.
design, good quality,
Good
limited
quality.
space.
Yeah, exactly.
Removable at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
oh
something
God,
that is
yes.
removable.
Yeah,
So
Yes.
we have to remember that.
Yes.
Because we can't build something permanent in somebody else's space.
Exactly.
Without their permission.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah.
want to add value to their space when it's not
Right.
going to benefit you.
Yeah,
It's not. Yeah. But that's actually why I, for the past 6 years, I've not been promoting any of the work that I do. I mean, I think there's opportunity to monetize, but I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, without monetizing, like, is it that it grows from a passion? So it's growing from necessity
Yeah.
and more into passion projects.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Problem solving.
Yeah,
projects.
I think that's
Problem
Not
solving.
not everything that we build I'm passionate about.
Okay.
Some
Fair enough.
some things
Yeah.
is we just need to have
Yeah.
those.
To have it.
And
yeah.
let me give an example. Like, our home is the perfect project. We call it our starter home because the intent is to, get something eventually. But
Build from scratch.
yeah, one of the projects we did, because we saw it as a necessity, was basically flip the living room and created a fake TV wall.
Yeah.
Only because the flow of the space was just, it was off. The light from the window was reflecting into the TV. It was just really, really off. So, that was one of the projects that was kind of out of necessity rather than,
Passion.
yeah.
And you realize a lot of people, well, I mean, I've seen it, and because I'm in the field, a lot of us don't know that we can flip spaces. Remember, Kevin spoke about that, because he removed the kitchen from its current location and put it where the living room was.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a lot more work to run plumbing and do these different things, but the flow had to work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of our more extensive projects. to
Yeah.
date.
And just as an aside, because I was asking what the DIY marketplace is like, and the potential for turning it into a business. But of course, there's also value in not necessarily wanting to turn it into a business.
Yeah. And I think for me, and Home with Ariel, the side of that we won't necessarily want to turn into a business is some of the projects I do, which is more of the home accessory side of things. I am not trying to sell any of these things. I can't see myself making anything and selling it to anybody. That's just not why I started doing it, and that's not why I make anything. But what I can see value in is maybe selling DIY. So showing people that this is how you can do DIY.
Yeah.
This is, or selling that, like the knowledge of DIY, some of the resources that you will need to become a DIYer to make your space more livable and more lovable. So that aspect of it, I can see, you can sell.
Okay, I totally get that, and I like that as as a reasoning. How do we approach the budget for DIY? Like, how do you all rationalize this is an acceptable price range, for the materials? And I mean, you spoke about time, but
Yeah, she tells me what she wants, and I tell her how much it's going to cost.
Okay.
And then
she
design.
goes so much.
Yeah, always.
And we go back and forth, and then we land on it.
Okay, because you spoke about getting into DIY because you didn't have a lot of money to buy furniture, but then the equipment that you have to use is professional grade, and professional grade is not going to be cheaper. It's going to be more
Well,
expensive, and sometimes
I didn't start with professional grade.
Exactly.
Well, how you
I
get?
started with
uh-huh.
basic corded drill and corded circular
At
saw.
your bought or
corded
you
sander.
borrow?
No, I bought.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get those to borrow anyway.
Yeah.
But I would always tell people, if you're getting into the game, always beg, borrow, buy.
Buy, yeah.
Buy should always be a last option.
I like that.
Okay.
Beg somebody for something. You may not know the person. Beg them for wine corks. Beg them for some pallets.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, or you know someone with a tool, try to borrow it from them. Always return in good order and in good time, because people don't like to lend stuff out because I don't know when I get it back. And buy is your last option. I bought basic tools to start with.
Right.
I had a very small space in my apartment that I used to use, and when I gained the experience and I had a little bit more money, I upgraded my tools. So I sold the first set of tools that I had. There's a healthy second-hand market for tools in Trinidad. And I just I did my research and I bought into a line of tools that I know is going to last me for a long time and has a wide array of tools. So if I expand my skill set, I could always buy another set of tools.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily need to buy into professional tools.
Right.
Right.
Buying tools online works for me to an extent. You could always look out for sales. You could buy tools in a set where you get essentially everything that you need to start with. And there's no duty on tools to import. There's only VAT and online purchase tax.
I didn't even know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
So Aeropostale, well, maybe not Aeropostale because reasons.
Yeah.
But air freight or whatever.
And
Those
air
places.
freight is the most expensive option, but somehow you still come out cheaper than if you were to buy a similar tool.
Locally, unfortunately.
Right.
And the experience is not great locally either, because businesses are now moving to a more e-commerce customer-centric mindset.
Yeah.
Not just, they were customer-centric, but their customer base is very different to
Right, yeah.
the DIY customer base. The DIY customer base is not the professional who's doing this
Yeah.
7 days a week
Correct.
and have their own workshop. It's somebody who just wants to do this once a month.
Yeah.
I mightn't actually know all
Or maybe
the
like once ever.
Exactly.
issues.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But just to add to what Karen said, like you could even look at things you have in your home and recycle, upcycle. We talked about being sustainable. The wine corks is one. So I made a Starburst mirror. I made 2 mirrors, a Starburst mirror and a
I saw the
French mirror.
Starburst mirror.
And
And the pebble mirror.
I also made a barbell mirror. But those, the Starburst and the French, those are materials that we had lying around the house. I had the glass from a little mirror I bought in Pennywise. So you don't necessarily need to go out and spend a lot of money. I guess it depends on what you make, because
What made the stars of your Starburst mirror?
toothpicks, no, skewers.
Okay.
Thumbs.
Yes.
So we had
Yes.
a pack of skewers in the kitchen for a very long time.
Yes.
We had a glue gun. The back of the mirror was cardboard.
Yeah.
So it's very basic DIY level if you want to make something cute for your little apartment. But as I said, and we mentioned before, there's levels to the DIY.
There
So
are
at this
levels.
levels, you can look to recycle if you're now starting up, repurpose things you have around the house.
This might sound like a really silly question, but how do you know when it looks good? Because, and I say this because, when you do something and you know what you've envisioned, you know the time that you put into the project, and you're enjoying yourself and all of that. So that kind of can cloud your vision.
Yeah.
And that love,
Yeah.
the rose-colored glasses, and
Yeah.
it's my handiwork. How do you know it's good?
But if it looks good to you, and at the end of it, you still find it look good, and it's in your space, isn't that enough? Like, I am not doing
I
it to
love
hang in
that.
someone else's space. So
Mhm.
if it looks good to me at the end of it, I am very happy with that.
Okay.
If at the end of it, I'm like, yo, this is not looking the way I envision, I would be honest and be like, this is not like shit.
I've redone,
Yeah.
remade, identified projects that I need to remake so many times.
Okay.
And as you gain experience as well, if you stick with it, you might make something. I made something 4 years ago that has been burning my eye to remake ever since we moved.
Tell us what it is.
I made a dresser
Uh-huh.
when I was in my second apartment. I love the dresser too.
I want to paint it green, by the way.
But I've been ready to remake the drawers, the
Fine.
drawer fronts.
What is it about the drawer front that's bothering you right now?
I used the cheapest drawer slice I could have
Afforded.
I could find at the
Yeah.
time.
Uh-huh.
They were decent quality drawer slides, but not made for a drawer full of clothes. And they're now starting to twist and bend, so the drawer
Right.
fronts are not well lined up. And I know what the problem is. I know how to solve it. I just need time to do it.
Yeah.
So the same way your rose-colored glasses could, make you think that everything is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You can also be very self-critical.
Yep.
If you're a DIY as well, be like, no, I need to remake this.
Yeah.
Okay.
This doesn't
Yeah.
line up the way I want it
just
to.
doesn't work the way you want it to, and that's the beauty of DIY. If it doesn't work the way you want it
Yep.
to, you know how you built it. You could then look for ways to remake what you've done
Yeah.
to better suit the space and your needs.
Thank you so much
That's
for that.
I love that, and I think this is a perfect time for us to segue into
The tea
our
bag?
tea bag.
So tea bag is when we get from a listener that's asking for design advice, and we have these wonderful DIY experts here. So
And we
what's
seem
our
to have
question?
about a 3-part question
Oh, what grief!
from a friend of ours, Latoya.
No, but I totally, I don't even know what Latoya is asking, but I'm grateful because, like I said, DIY is not my ministry. So
It's not for
have
everyone. And I thought it
questions.
wasn't for me too.
Really.
Yeah, until I got my own space and said,
You're
Maybe.
you're really making DIY accessible just by those kind of
That
comments.
is-
Yeah.
Just
And
by
that's the
those
purpose
responses.
of asking you to come and have a chat with us, because we want to make this accessible. We want to make everything accessible to everyone. We want to bridge that gap, because it's always everything, as I always say, a well-dressed room should not be inaccessible.
yeah.
Everyone should always have a well-dressed room, son. So one of the questions Latoya asks is, while the business,
While the business is not an income,
That's
well,
it.
I guess why the practice is not an income generator at this time.
Right.
Would you consider going full time at some point? I think you slightly alluded to that, but let's
Yes.
use this question as an opportunity to expand. So it's not an income generator at this point, but is it a possibility that you all might decide it could become one in the future? Because you say you're getting a lot of projects that you simply don't have the time, but you might be able to charge people a budget that makes the time possible. And given,
Maybe.
right? So let's so that's the first question, and maybe whoever answered the first question, second question or second part of that question is, given that you all aren't willing to sell some of the items that they create, Ariel, I still want to rethink my one. Would you consider teaching people via workshops? Right, so not just the page and whatever, but maybe have a DIY with Ariel workshop on a
I
Saturday.
love that.
And I will answer the other question.
You want to go
Well,
first?
yeah, so there are different ways to approach, at least in my area, woodworking or making stuff. There are different ways to approach making things and monetizing making things. I think when people think of woodwork, they would think of custom, what would you call that?
Custom finishings.
Custom builds.
So somebody comes to you and say, hey, I have this thing that I would like to have built. I need it in 2 months' time. Can you build it for me?
Yeah.
Right? That's custom commissions. Sorry. So that's one side of it, which takes time, takes effort, takes space, and you don't really have control over essentially what it looks like in the end, because you essentially build into a client's specifications. The side of things that I'm looking at now is batching small home accents out for sale.
Right.
I think wood is a nice way to warm up a space.
Yeah.
I don't like to paint wood. I prefer to see wood in all its
Yeah,
glory.
In its natural state.
Yes.
I mean, I could finish it in different ways to make a different. The grain of teeth might pop differently with polyurethane versus some kind of water-based finish or something, or an oil versus a water-based finish. So I'm leaning towards batching things out when I have the time. So I have control over the process, I have control over what I'm producing in that time, and then offering them for sale for clients who want to add something to their home to warm up the space, for example, as opposed to the custom commission side of things, which I think is a little bit, you need the space, you need to have the right tools to deliver on that, professional grade and so on, whereas the other side is a bit more
And
expensive.
you need to have the willingness to deal with customers, because customers, ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be a bit tedious.
Yeah.
But like, what may be that tipping point? Like, what may be that tipping point to say, all right, you're having a discussion with them, Ariel, and say, honey, like, maybe we can do this full time. What do you think might that? Sorry, like, what would that take? Because look, taking into consideration our environment, taking into consideration everything that we have seen, everything that we know is not happening. Like, do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah. I wouldn't say no. I definitely think so. I think one thing I did mention is I work in the financial services industry.
Right.
So I'm very in tune with what my expenses are, what my income needs to be in that space.
Oh, we had a guest.
Yeah.
Our last guest
play.
did that, and
Oh, that's really
You know, we always
good.
have to talk about those things.
Yes.
So
but that's why you said she would tell you what it costs, and you would say,
Well, she would tell me what she
you
wants.
and
I
you
was
tell her
saying
the
this is what
cost.
it costs.
And she's like,
Yeah,
oh
you
my
would
God, so
expect.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there always has to be this understanding of what you want to get out of it. So like, I know for me it's either full time at my job or no time at my job. There's no part
There's no
time option for
yes.
what I do.
Yes.
Other people in
Yes.
financial services might say, well, yes, there's a part time option,
Yeah.
right? And I know that I need my income right now.
Yes.
So it's either just living off of my income,
Yeah.
our incomes,
Yeah.
or I'm replacing that income so I could do this full time and take that risk.
Yeah.
Because there's a risk.
Yeah.
Right.
Always.
The joinery and carpentry business in Trinidad and Tobago is very saturated. There are
Yeah.
lots of people doing kitchen cabinets,
That is true.
you know, and trying their hand at custom
Yes.
furniture pieces and so on.
Yes.
Very traditional,
Yeah.
but still,
Yeah.
they have the basic skill set, so they can pretty much build anything. So I'm going up against
like a lot.
Yeah.
probably
And people who have the capability to do mass.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
do you
So
do you
I
distinguish
have to weigh
yourself?
that
Yeah.
the risk that this is not going to work out.
Right.
Probably tiptoe into the space, see how that goes, think about the response that I'm getting, and then decide if I could jump all the
Correct.
way.
Okay.
So I guess that ties into the question we asked Ariel, like people who are interested. If you want to start workshops, would you do that?
Yeah, I think on my side of things, that is a nice way because, as I mentioned before, while I won't sell the items I make, I would sell the concept of DIY
Yes.
and sell maybe the tools to be able to do the DIY yourself
Yes.
to show people that it is accessible, you can do it, you know. And yeah, I think workshops, I actually hadn't thought of that before, is a nice way to create that community and show people that, hey, you can get your hands dirty, a little glue burn and go kill you.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I
know
quite
you're
like-
selling this glue
we
burn
are
thing.
selling this thing, but
No, and the reason why I keep saying that because I want people to be realistic.
Yes.
I don't want them to go into it and then get a glue burn and be like, nah,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I
They never
so,
tell me this was part of
Exactly.
the mix.
So I want
Yes.
to be realistic, and
Yes.
that's why we keep saying, you know, there's a safety aspect in it and all of that. But the workshop idea, it's a nice idea. For me, I cannot see myself leaving my
Yes.
professional life to do anything like this full time because I quite like what I do.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is my passion, my professional
Right,
work outside of home with
right.
Ariel. But this is definitely something that I would support Keron on if he goes full time, and then I can do my.
My work is my passion too. No.
I know that.
I love this part of the conversation because I do think there's a lot of talk about, you know, having a hustle and having a side hustle.
Yeah.
And I like it, and I think it's really important. I am very big on encouraging people, especially people like me who are not naturally entrepreneurial, to explore entrepreneurial opportunities.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said about having a hobby.
Exactly.
You know, and having
yeah.
expertise
And-
outside of your actual job. That
Exactly.
might be a passion. So it's
Yeah.
great that you have a professional passion and a kind of, you know, recreational passion. And true, one of the dirty secrets about turning your side hustle into a job is that it stops being fun.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I feel like with social media, there's kind of a pressure to turn everything into a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing this? Oh,
Everything
maybe
could
you
make
should start
money.
selling this. And it's
Yes.
like, what if I am doing this for the enjoyment of it? No, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I am fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
and that's the
Yeah.
other side of this entire, well, life.
Yes.
Because not all of us want to be entrepreneurs,
Exactly.
as you all have rightly said. And a lot of us are just like, listen, I like doing this, and let's do it. Like, let's do this together. Let's
Don't
do
kill,
whatever.
don't kill my joy.
Yeah, I mean, your payment could be a pot of pilau or a bottle of wine, or we come and help. Or,
Yeah, we have friends who have told us, when are they coming back?
Yeah, I have a friend who told me that she's like, yo, I have
we
things to
really-
eat and
once we-
drink when
once
you're
we have
coming.
time,
Yes.
we can plan.
I think
it
that's
for
one of the
them.
major things now, having the time.
Exactly.
And I mean, as we're talking about time, production is telling us we need to move on.
Production's such a hater. Production's such a hater, but I guess that's how we get into what's
Yeah.
brewing.
Yeah, we have to get into what's brewing. What's your favorite design trend or trends, as you have seen? I mean, it doesn't have to be just DIY. It could be DIY centered. It could be interior design. It could be interior decor. You just tell us, what are your favorite design trends?
Karen looks at Ariel one time as though it have nothing in woodworking.
No. I mean,
Yeah, and I think for me,
for the opportunity.
it is within our woodworking space and the whole wood. I like the wood finish, and I was not always a big advocate of having the naked wood. I would tell Karen, we can paint it white or paint it black.
Oh God, you like paint?
Used to. Over time, seeing the beauty of the wood and seeing
Yes.
the natural, what do you call those, the
Green.
grains, and
Yes.
I just love it. So I feel like having that in your space really warms it up. It makes it
Yes.
nice and cozy.
Yes.
Something else I really love that I think I show a lot on my page is plants. I like having real plants, live plants.
Yeah.
I love having.
That's why we added some plants in
Yes,
for your-
so of course I've been
Yeah.
eyeing this. So I love the way
Everyone has been
plants-
eyeing my
Yeah, it's
Montserrat.
very
I think
nice.
she
Her name is?
Thelma.
Thank you.
She
respect.
has been featured on this podcast so many times.
Yeah.
She
But
should be.
she's
Well,
massive.
nice
She
to
should be.
start the show.
She really
Yes.
is.
Yeah,
Yes, she
so I
really
think it's
is.
a great addition to the home. And Karen keeps telling me that my favorite color is green. I don't agree, but like
What is your favorite color?
I don't know. I
green.
don't have
It's
one, but
green.
I'm loving olive green.
So if you
Olive green is a top tier color.
I
I love that. I love
Olive
that.
green is a
Olive
top
green.
tier
That's 'cause
color.
if you can realize, if she loves putting green in everything, remember we talked about it. I love putting blue in
Yes,
everything.
yes, down about blue.
So
really.
there are colors that you gravitate to.
So
Yes.
So you may not realize it,
Yeah.
and then one day you'll be like, wait,
yeah.
look at there.
She has so many green things that she loves, and she refuses to admit that green is her favorite color.
Yeah. So even
might
the
just
our
be-
bedroom with the black doors,
Yeah.
I told him, okay, it's either we paint the dresser in a nice olive green or we do the black doors because our room is very light,
Yes.
airy, nice. So we wanted something that
Complement.
would wow,
Yes.
and give a nice.
I mean, I
feel.
can also see the dresser going in an olive green with the black doors.
Olive green with
I'm
a
not
natural
sure.
wood base would
Yes.
be really
When
So
you
like,
say-
so a mixture. So somewhere has an olive green pop,
Yeah.
but the natural wood is the star. So like,
Yeah.
I'm seeing a dresser. I don't know what the shape is as yet, but olive green somewhere in it. But the wood pops, and maybe brass handles or
The brass
Yeah,
handles,
Some
we
olive
already,
green,
we already have the
yes.
brass. I mean, as I said, I've been wanting to redo this dresser.
Also, you working towards redoing the dresser. It's just the time. When we're painting this dresser, you want an opaque paint, or are you thinking of olive green stain? How are you
I
representing?
think a paint.
Okay.
Yeah, a
okay.
paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I discovered, so kill me dead, right? I've been obsessed with a rolling pin that I saw at Upmarket because
Obsessed with a rolling pin.
no, because I don't pick, right? Because I don't want flour all up in my nails.
Right.
However, this rolling pin is, I can't remember what piece of wood it tell me it is, but it's
Acacia.
stained. I don't know. It's stained purple, and I was
Wow.
like, Jesus Lord, that needs to be
It's
in my
pale
kitchen.
purple and it's not purple heart.
Is it? I don't know. I can't remember. But I feel like it's stained purple.
Okay.
Purple heart is really purple. Wow, why am I posting a design podcast and me and nobody
That's one of the
That's very
species
funny.
of wood that I am looking forward to finish in my shop so I could have some purple heart.
oh, that would be cool. That would be cool. So I guess this is the time for no tea, no shade. So, design no-nos.
Too much of anything.
Nah, that's too vague.
No,
I
gets into
no,
the
I rebuke.
specifics.
No,
It gets into the
I mean,
specifics.
our design auntie Iris Apfel says, when you think you have enough on, add something else.
Oh my god.
So tell me, is she, because she loves putting on a lot of extra accessories and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
you're now saying too much of anything.
Wait,
Tell me.
so you may not have the biggest space, but you want to have the biggest dining room set and your biggest living room set.
So proportioning your
Find
space.
stuff that is proportional to the space that you're in. Not just in size, but also in impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may have a dining room set that is solid wood, very chunky in a small space, right? And it's also stained a very dark color. I have nothing against staining wood, but just understand that that is going to make your space feel a lot smaller than it actually is. So, I mean, DIY gives us the ability to design for the space that we're in, right? You may want to just go and buy, that's fine, but understand that in buying, that piece may not have been designed for your space.
Right.
So your space may just be dark because you only have one window that's bringing in a little bit of light. That's fine. You can light the space. It may be a small square space, but don't let it be a very big, oversized dining room set that is all solid wood, dark stain. It's just going to make the space be small.
Yeah.
And
like that.
just to add on to that, as we're on the topic of stain, I think another no-no is you have the dark dining table with the dark stain, and then you have a next piece here with a different color stain and the next color stain, and
Yeah.
just have some
Don't get
kind
me
of
wrong, both
consistency.
ways are style, right?
Yeah.
And it could work together.
That's if it's an eclectic style.
If it-
Exactly.
Yeah.
If
So
you're
like
going for
even-
the eclectic style.
Even if it's an eclectic style, there is still some sort of
Structure.
structure.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes,
Exactly.
yeah, there's continuity. So people talk
Structural
about mixing
madness.
patterns,
Yeah.
mixing prints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's something that links the print.
And
even
connects them
even
all,
Auntie
exactly.
Iris Apfel understands. Like when
Exactly.
she does, I can't do maximalism, but she does it really,
I
really
can't do
well.
that because
You know,
that's-
but there's always a continuity
Yep.
in what she's doing. She knows what to make pop and what to, you
Correct.
know. So yeah.
Yeah, guys, I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you for educating us about DIY and all of the other aspects.
And spilling the tea.
Spilling the tea. Before we go, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find us on Home with Ariel. I might need to change the name of that
No,
of that
that's fine.
page.
And this is on Instagram.
Yes, this is on Instagram.
Lovely.
That is the only platform right now. Home
No
with Ariel.
problem.
Yes, love it.
We're happy to have you. And
you.
thank you all for coming to another episode of the Interior Podcast. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
You can listen to the Interior Podcast on Apple Podcasts,
Spotify
SoundCloud.
and all other streaming platforms.
You can follow us on social media on Instagram.
Yes, and even Facebook at The Interior Podcast.
Go ahead and follow us now.
Thank you.